Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's design webinar, Eliminate External Kitchen Vents with PlasmaMade E-Filter Technology. As we continue our theme of sustainability for the month of April, please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Cameron Shahzada, Vice President of Jack Appliances. Cameron, please take it away.
Hi there, my name is Cameron Shahzada. I'm the Vice President of JAK Appliance Group, and I also represent PlasmaMade in North America. I joined JAK Appliance Group in 2015. I started off as the parts and service manager there, and I worked my way up to Vice President over the years. I'm going to be discussing today the fundamentals of plasma filtration, the different technologies that are found in plasma filters, and what makes them different from other filtration methods. I'm also going to discuss how these technologies work that are inside plasma filters and why they are important to the kitchen design and home building industries, with a bit of a focus on sustainability and air quality. First off, what is a plasma filter? A plasma filter is a filter that creates a small amount of plasma or ozone via a high voltage generator. You can see two examples here of a plasma filter. One is a flat filter that's designed for going into small or tight spaces. And this is a round plasma filter that's designed to go on a round exhaust of a kitchen range hood. What is plasma? Well, everybody knows what plasma is, even if you don't know the scientific name for it. Lightning right here, you can see, is actually a type of plasma. And you may have played with one of these glowing balls when you were a kid at a science fair or something like that. And what plasma is when you take a gas and you really, really electrically charge it, separates the ions into positive and electric charges, and creates this nice glowing lightning bolt, for lack of a better word, that you see here. Why is it important to us? Well, how are plasma filters going to be used? We're going to use them in kitchen range hoods, and it allows us to recirculate these range hoods instead of venting them outside. That's going to provide a variety of different benefits. There are health benefits, energy savings benefits. We can avoid complicated duct installations. You no longer have to vent the hot or cold air outside of your house. Some of the health benefits, it might give you a reduction in asthma, bronchitis, airborne disease transmission, and you won't have to design complicated duct runs with multiple elbows or very, very long duct runs. One thing that plasma filters are not supposed to be used for are gas appliances. And that's because gas appliances emit carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, which are not removed by plasma filters. If you have one of these appliances, I would recommend venting outside. But if you have no other option and there's no way that you can vent outside, a plasma filter is still better than nothing. So what are the different technologies that are used in a plasma filter? Well, one, we have a plasma generator. I spoke about that in my previous slide. And these are created via a high voltage electric circuit. And it creates that plasma, which we use to neutralize odors and microorganisms. The second technology that we have in a plasma filter is our electrostatic discharge technology. And what this does is you can see here on the screen, there's a electric grid going through this fiberglass filter here. And on one side of the electric grid, we have a positively charged section. On the other side of the electric grid, we have a negatively charged section. And that's going to attract either negative or positively charged molecules into the filter. It allows us to get very, very fine particles out of the air. Third technology is ceramic foam. And that's a very, very fine media filter that we use to get anything that's not taken in by the electrostatic discharge filter. The fourth that you may be familiar with already is activated carbon, which we all know from the current recirculating carbon filters. That's just to eliminate any lingering smells or odors that are not taken care of by the plasma generator. 5, we have some airflow sensors. We need to know when the range hood is being turned on or off so that we can turn the plasma generator and electrostatic discharge systems on or off accordingly. And 6, we have the contaminant sensors. And these sensors are there to analyze what type of air, how dirty the air is that's going inside, and to adjust the plasma generation and electrostatic discharge accordingly so that we're not oversaturating the air with plasma or undersaturating the air with plasma. We just want the right amount to eliminate whatever contaminants are going into the air. So, what does a plasma generator do? Well, it eliminates 3 main things. Odors, we all know what those are. Microorganisms, that could be bacteria, mold, viruses, or other pathogens that are in the air. And volatile organic compounds, or also known as VOCs. And what a volatile organic compound is any organic compound that can evaporate into the air. It's very common for paint products to give off volatile organic compounds. When you're cooking anything that's starting to smoke, particularly if you're cooking with oil, it releases these volatile organic compounds into the air, and they can be very, very toxic. So we want to get rid of those. The second technology, electrostatic discharge. I already mentioned it attracts polar molecules or electrically charged molecules into the filter, but it also has another feature, and that allows it to periodically clean the filter. How it does this, if you can see my cursor, I'm going over the electrostatic discharge grid right here. And when this grid, you can see there's a fiberglass filter in between the grid. When this filter becomes saturated with grease, smoke, dust, whatever it is the filter may be taking out of the air, it will create a circuit between these 2 electrical grids on either side of it. And when it creates that circuit, it zaps it with high voltage electricity and uses that to clean the filter periodically. So by using this technology, we can actually extend the life of the filter for up to 15 years. Now, in the testing that's been done, this technology will last for up to 9,000 hours. And if you do the math on that, that's about 2 hours a day for about 12 and a half years. So if personally, I don't cook for 2 hours a day every day. We may be able to extend the life for much, much longer than that, but we say up to 15 years just to be on the safe side. Another technology, ceramic foam, that traps any fine particles that are not captured by the electrostatic discharge system. It's a passive system, a media filter. There's nothing active in the ceramic foam. But it does have another effect, which is quite nice, which is a sound dampening effect. And it can provide a sound dampening effect up to 10 decibels, which is pretty good. The fourth is activated carbon. We already know all about that. It'll capture any leftover odors that are not captured by or eliminated by the plasma filter. 5, we've got the airflow sensors that will turn the filter on and turn the filter off. There's no manual button pushing or anything like that required by somebody using one of these filters. It turns on and off automatically, and it will adjust the plasma generator based on the rate of airflow. The contaminant sensor will detect your dirty air and again, adjust the plasma generator and the electrostatic discharge system to provide the optimal amount of plasma and static discharge. Okay, on our next screen here is a visual representation of the size of the particles that a plasma filter can take out of the air. The very far end, we can see a human hair, a grain of sand, grain of salt, white blood cell, And now we're getting down into the things that we're really concerned about, which would be allergens, pet dander, and we go all the way down here to zero point 0.1 microns, which is extremely small. And you can see here that the coronavirus is slightly larger than that. So we take out dust particles, we take out respiratory droplets, we take out 2.5 ppm dust particles, which are the small ones, which are extremely bad for your health. Wildfire smoke, if you're living in California and those wildfires are blowing in your direction, it can have a very negative effect on your respiratory health. This is just to give you guys a representation, a visual representation of the different things that can be taken out of the air by a plasma filter and what can't be taken out of the air by a plasma filter. Anything below 0.1 microns, which is extremely small, can't be taken out of the air by a plasma filter. Okay, here I'm going to share a quick video with you guys showing a live demonstration of this plasma filter taking smoke out of the air. You may recognize the person in the video, but I'm just going to jump ahead here and show you what it looks like.
Are you ready for a demonstration of our game-changing new PlasmaMade E-Filter in the box behind me? Imagine you just burnt Thanksgiving dinner, and these are all the noxious fumes circulating around in your kitchen. Watch as our filter removes everything from the box behind me. And there you have it.
Okay, so you can see there that it removed the smoke in a matter of seconds. And the box was completely clear afterwards, which is exactly what we want out of a filter that we're going to be using in our home and not venting anything outside. Okay, some of the other benefits of using a plasma filter. We're all concerned about our health and our air quality. Here are some articles that have been featured in national magazines about plasma filters. During the COVID-19 days, these were used in Europe in soccer stadiums to eliminate COVID-19 transmission. They actually had these on the floor of every soccer stadium in the Netherlands. They saw a significant reduction in disease transmission when they had these in place. So this is just some literature here. If you'd like to do some research on your own time, you can certainly do so. Here's a cost analysis of a plasma filter versus a traditional carbon filter. Problem with traditional carbon filters that are usually used for recirculating applications is they have to be replaced quite often, typically about 3 to 6 months. We did an analysis on using them every 6 months, and you can see here, plasma filtration system over time will have a significantly lower cost due to the fact that it doesn't need to be replaced for up to 15 years, or even longer if you don't use your plasma filter that much. Another great benefit of using a plasma filter is saving money and saving energy. Because you're not venting outside and you're not putting a hole in the side of your house, you get to keep all of that heated air and air-conditioned air that you've spent so much, time and money on, instead of venting it outside. Whenever you vent your air outside, your house has to make up that air somehow, and it's going to draw that air back in from the exterior. So if you care about saving money and saving the planet, plasma filter is definitely a good option for that. Okay, here I'm going to show you another video. One concern that I always hear about plasma filters is how difficult are they to install? Installing a plasma filter is extremely easy. They work on any range hood that has a 6-inch duct and with any cooktop downdraft system that has a standard 3¼ by 10-inch duct. They can usually be installed in under a minute.
Mount the duct transition and tighten it to lock it in place. Put the filter on the duct transition and twist it to lock it in, and plug it into the wall, and you're done. And there you have it, installed in 3 easy steps.
So that was the range hood installation of a plasma filter. Here is an example of a downdraft installation for a plasma filter. Okay, what are some of the other benefits of using a plasma filter? Well, on average, a carbon filter needs to be replaced every 4 to 6 months. So here we've done an analysis where we've shown how many replacements need to happen over the lifespan of a range hood. And what you can see here is on average, you'll have to replace a carbon filter 25 times over the lifespan of a range hood. That means 25 times packaging, 25 times you'll have to either drive to the store or get the product delivered to you. Whereas in comparison, a plasma filter you only need to buy once and likely will outlast the lifespan of your range hood. So in terms of waste and pollution of the planet, we have 27.5 pounds of carbon filter waste on average if you were to go with a traditional carbon filter recirculating method. Whereas a plasma filter, you'll only have about 1/3 of a pound of waste over the lifespan of your range hood. So again, if you care about saving the planet and finding sustainable products that are responsible, plasma-made filters are 97% recyclable. And if you return them to us, we will take care of all of the recycling product. Why would you choose a plasma filter over general recirculation filters or venting to the outside? Well, if you're venting outside, you have issues with removing that indoor air, like I mentioned earlier. You don't want to remove the hot air that you've spent so much time and money heating in your home, or the same thing reversely with air-conditioned air. There's also a costly and complicated installation sometimes for outdoor exhaust vents. I've seen downdraft systems where the builder had to drill through a concrete pad to vent underneath the floor and then come up outside through a hole in the ground just to vent the downdraft. And I've seen a builder have to drill through every single floor joist because they were running the wrong way to vent a downdraft. It's very, very difficult sometimes. And conversely, with the updraft systems, I've seen with island range hoods, designers have to build an entire false ceiling so that they can run a duct through the ceiling and out the roof. I've also seen ducts where they have to do 3 or 4 elbows and run 40 feet to find a suitable place to get out of the house. So if that's a problem for you, going to a traditional recirculating method, that's a solution, but it also has its own problems. Like we mentioned before, they're passive filters. There's no active electrostatic discharge or plasma generation. They only last a few months. If you're lucky, 4 to 6 months. They're costly due to recurring filter replacement. I showed you that screen earlier showing the costs over time for a plasma filter versus a carbon filter. And the performance of carbon filters are not good at all. The performance degrades over time. They really only filter odors. And one thing a lot of people don't know is if you cook with any kind of moisture, it completely eliminates, it deactivates the activated carbon, in other words, and the filter doesn't work at all. If we look at a plasma filter, we can see here it filters odors, it filters allergens, microorganisms, particulate matter down to 0.1 microns. It really gets everything. Oh, and volatile organic compounds are not mentioned there either, which is a big thing. It really gets everything out of the air. It recirculates, so you don't have to worry about removing that hot or cold air and wasting energy and, wasting money. As I showed you before, they're extremely easy to install. It only takes a minute or so. I've installed a plasma filter before in under a minute. The electrostatic discharge technology makes it last for up to 15 years or even longer if you don't cook that very much. It's available for every type of rain hood on the market, as long as it has one of those sizes that I mentioned earlier, 6-inch round or 3¼ by 10-inch rectangular duct. There's even custom adapters that can be, there are custom adapters on the market that you can use it to, if the size isn't 6 inches or it isn't 3¼ by 10, we can make a custom adapter for whatever size is required. And over the long term, they're much less expensive. Okay, what do you do if you have a problem with a plasma filter? Well, the great thing about living in the modern age is we have all this technology that can solve our problems for us. So currently there's an app that can be downloaded in either the Apple Store or the Play Store, Google Play Store, which can connect to the plasma filters remotely via Bluetooth. This allows the manufacturer to remotely diagnose anything that's going wrong with the plasma filter. And because there's no moving parts, it can either be reprogrammed on the spot to work better, or they can determine that if there's a problem that can't be fixed by programming, it's time to send out a replacement. So if you've got a client and you know they're a fussy client, you don't have to worry. A solution can happen on the spot in the comfort of their own home, on their own device, and we can come to a resolution promptly. So lastly, you may have seen these two pictures before. I've included them here again because now you are free of the restrictions of ventilation. Most of you will be kitchen designers or interior designers, and the big thing for you is now you can design the kitchen in the way that you want. You're not restricted by thinking about, oh, how am I going to vent this rain hood? How am I going to, solve this ducting problem? You can just design the kitchen the way that you want and always know that you have in your back pocket a solution in case you have an issue with the venting. You can see here, as I mentioned before, island installations can be very tricky, but now you can just put a plasma filter into the chimney of your island hood. It will recirculate back out through the grills here, and you won't have any issues. And the same thing with your downdraft. Your downdraft, just like in the installation video that I showed you before, you can put one of these plasma filters below the cabinets. You don't have to worry about losing any cabinet space because it can run below the floor of the cabinets, and it will just recirculate through a grill in the bottom there, and nobody will even know it's there. So instead of designing that kitchen so that it's facing a wall and you're not looking out over your big giant windows while you're cooking, you can now have that island in the middle and you can be facing that great view that you've always wanted to look at while you're cooking instead of that back wall that is, you want to be looking out of that view. That's why you have it. In summary, what are the benefits of using a plasma filter? Well, one, it eliminates all particulates down to 0.1 microns. So that's going to be grease, smoke, dust, pet dander, allergens, bacteria, mold, fungus, wildfire smoke, smog if you live in a city. Anything that you can think of that's in the air that's bigger than 0.1 microns, this thing will eliminate it. It eliminates smells and odors. Our plasma generator gets rid of all smells, odors, and volatile organic compounds, which, like I mentioned before, are not very good for your health. anytime that you're cooking with oil or creating any kind of smoke, it's releasing these volatile organic compounds into the air, which can be carcinogenic and toxic. We never want to breathe those in. And like I mentioned before, there's also a lot of other chemicals like paint, even nail polish releases volatile organic compounds. All of those can be eliminated with a plasma filter. Thanks to our electrostatic discharge system, it's self-cleaning. It doesn't require replacement for up to 15 years or 9,000 hours. Like I said, if you do the math on that, that works out to about 2 hours a day, every day. So if you're not cooking for 2 hours a day, every day, you might even get longer than 15 years. It really depends on your usage and how you use the product. Big one, exterior ventilation is not required. So now you can design that kitchen exactly the way you want. You don't have to worry about venting outside or putting in a complicated duct system or air makeup system. You can have that sealed home, which is great for energy, not wasting energy, and not wasting your money. Like I said, heat savings, AC savings. You're not sending that hot or cold air outside, keeping that inside. We're being responsible and saving energy. You get to save a lot of time and money on installation. I showed you those videos before. It only takes about 30 seconds to do the updraft install, the over the stove range hood install. The downdraft system might take a little bit longer than a minute, but compared to jackhammering a concrete block or cutting through every floor joist, it saves you so many headaches and a lot of time. Works with all makes and models of range hood. Doesn't matter whether you have a Ventahood or a Faber or whatever model and make of range hood you have. If it has a 6-inch round duct, it will fit. If it has a 3.25 by 10-inch rectangular duct, the flat model will fit. If you don't have one of those, for some reason you have a larger duct or a smaller duct or a different shaped duct, a custom adapter can be made for you. So don't worry if you don't have a 6-inch or a 3.25 by 10-inch. It offers better performance than traditional carbon filters. Traditional carbon filters only filter out odors. If there's any sort of moisture in the air, they don't work at all. They have to be replaced every 4 to 6 months. Which over time costs you thousands and thousands of dollars. Think of all that waste, right? 27.5 pounds on average if you replace your carbon filters when you're supposed to, compared to 1/3 of a pound of waste if you just buy one plasma filter and use it throughout the lifetime of your range hood. There are numerous health benefits. One thing I didn't mention earlier in the presentation is the inventor of this technology invented it specifically to help his son with asthma and severe allergies that he had. If you have anybody who's immunocompromised or suffers from chronic asthma or respiratory illnesses, this may be something you want to consider for them that could provide some benefit to their life, to their lifestyle. Risk of grease fire is greatly reduced. Now you don't have that big, long duct run that gets all full of grease. Who knows how long that grease sits there, if it gets cleaned at all, and that grease goes rancid, moldy, and it's a risk of fire. You know, most of the kitchen fires that happen are related to grease in some way, and not having that sitting in a long duct run is definitely better for your risk of fire. And lastly, plasma filters are 97% recyclable. If you return them to the manufacturer, they'll take care of the entire recycling process, and I'm sure they're working towards becoming 100% recyclable. That's it. Thank you very much for being a part of my presentation here today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the screen below. It's been a pleasure presenting to you guys here for the webinar for sustainability. Thank you for your time.